Hey, good morning, Lance. I'm reporting for the lawyer's lawyer, but not the dad's dad today, from the Shunga Trail here in Topeka. It's a overcast fall day in Kansas. It's nice out. I wanted to talk about my dad as it relates. This would go in the chapter addictions, the addictions chapter, so we can start quantifying where this stuff is going, my ramblings. But my dad definitely had the addictive personality, and as I've commented earlier, you know, his addiction to alcohol really didn't end until his diabetes, you know, was so bad that you just had to take out that, because it's just like pouring sugar into your blood, you know, to a diabetic. And that really didn't happen until his like 80. And dad never thought that he'd live past 55, so he lived his life like that, you know, full throttle. But he was talking to me about being addicted to brown bread. It's an ice cream, and it was funny. Well, Bianca and I had brown bread last night, and it made me think of this story. And that's when Dad said his addiction for brown bread, it was like a gateway food. It became a gateway food to overeating. And I don't believe that marijuana is a gateway drug to cocaine. I think maybe cocaine might be a gateway drug to pot. But it's like after you're all tuned up on coke, you want to smoke a joint just to cool it down a little. But Dad's gateway drug or gateway food might have been brown bread. So yeah, Dad was telling me about, and I didn't really get a time frame on when Dad became addicted to overeating. But, you know, Dad throughout his whole life battled, you know, his weight and diet and things like that. You know, Dad always admired like little people that had these metabolisms that could just eat anything, you know. It was like he'd look at them with wonderment, like, whoa, look at that little girl, she can pack it away. And, you know, I've seen that like some of these food challenge things, you know, where little petite girl gets on there and kicks ass. But you know, Dad was one of these guys that if he got into something, man, he got into it. It's like when he started playing bridge, you know, it wasn't no sooner than he was a life master and loved playing bridge. As a matter of fact, good morning. Bridge. Well, there's a bad deal for somebody. Remember that old saying, don't ever laugh when a hearse goes by? You might be the next one to die. Well, little action here on the Shunga. At least the school bus didn't like pull out the sign. Hey, Wilson. He knows when to turn around. So, should have just kept my train of thought going. Look at him. Charlie Wilson. The neighbors came over yesterday and begged me that next time I go to Colorado to definitely let them have dog rides. I actually have a friend of mine that said, you know, if something happens to you, can I have your dog? Well, I guess so. Anyway, Dad. Oh, Dad and dogs. That's kind of funny. Because Dad was addicted to dogs too. And he was addicted to the same kind of dog. He always got these little white, like poodle type dogs. And they were all named Fancy. So he never had to, you know, boy or girl. It didn't matter. That's Fancy. My dad was a character. And I definitely know he was addicted to my mom. You know, till the day he died, I know he loved my mom. And I got to tell you, this has created a rift between my brother and me, because my brother never could figure out that my dad had another life prior to his birth, because he, you know, saw just his mom and dad together. They stayed together the whole time. Good morning. Shunga makes a good bike trail. Dad was addicted to certain clothes too. Dad loved Brooks Brothers. You know, Brooks Brothers was the cutting edge. You know, how do you go wrong? Dad would always go, how do you go wrong wearing, you know, a button-down Oxford cloth shirt from Brooks Brothers? Never goes out of style. And Dad was a pretty good dresser. You know, had a lot of different wardrobes based on how his weight fluctuated. But Dad loved wearing suits and ties. His cigarette addiction was interesting. And he loved these cigars. He used to have these big green cigars called Churchill Rejects. And actually, they're good cigars. I'll never forget when I sold my painting business one summer to this Indian guy named Lionel Pimo. Man, I sold him everything, lock, stock, and barrel. He bought the truck, the airless sprayer. You know, we're up signing the paperwork and using my dad's office late at night. And, you know, Lionel paid cash, ladders, drop claws, everything. Then, what was really funny was breaking out one of Dad's cigars. You know, we were on the 10th floor of what was then the First National Bank. We were in Harry Calmary's office. Harry Calmary was Dad's senior law partner. You know, took Dad in after that. Dad getting basically kicked out of his dad's law firm. But the wood in Dad's office was from the Philippines, given to him by the Philippine president. You know, Harry negotiated the Philippine Treaty. And it was really a neat office, man. I got into an argument with this knucklehead named Vern Jarbo here about, that whole thing, because he's the smartest guy on earth. Like, you know, I know a lot of those people. But anyway, back to Lionel Pimo, paid cash, lit up one of these cigars. Watching Lionel Pimo smoke one of my dad's cigars up in the 10th floor of my dad's office in a room that was Harry Calmary's, you know, with the wood around us from the Philippines. Man, I'm telling you what, that was quite a sight. But I gotta... Well, anyway, I didn't want to take that call. Real quickly. So there's a guy here in town, think of his name. Anyway, he used to work for Stauffer Communications, then later on went way up in city management. They actually wanted him to be the city manager. He would have been a good city manager. He might have even been the interim city manager for a while. Mike Tepley. Mike Tepley's a great guy. And Mike would probably, you know, I probably would really defer this, get him to write a paragraph or whatever on how he knew my dad. But